Hello and welcome back to the Jules with Gem podcast. I am your host GiGi and I hope you're well. I'm continuing my Breaking Down the Science Energy series, and I just have to say a disclaimer though that the information I am sharing with you is just to explain the energies and that not everything is set in stone. I think of astrology as my cosmic parent, or rather cosmic guidance, and that you are able to work with the energies within your chart in order to achieve your current soul mission so that you can evolve into the next phase of life. And as I always say, the only constant is change. I cannot stress the importance of knowing your birth chart as it acts as guidance for your soul's evolution, at least in my humble opinion and experience. Without any further ado, let's get down to it, shall we? I will start off by taking a look at well-known South African Aquarians, and they are as follows. Patrice Motsepe, aka Toya DeLazy, Lala Hirayama, Ivan Koza, Trevor Noah, and last but not least, Nasty C. So, fixed air represented by Aquarius, born between January 20th up until February the 18th or the 19th, whichever you fancy. These are the humanitarians of the zodiac, and I am super excited to be breaking down their energy, represented by the symbol, the water bearer. These are the innovators. These are the game changers. The rebels with a cause, the rebels who push for change that society or those around them may or may not realize that they even need until the time has come. And by then they have already advanced their thinking into solving society's future problems. Before we get into deep though, let's check out some basic facts about Aquarius. Their polarity is positive, their quality is fixed, their element is air. Their symbol, the water bearer, their planetary ruler is Uranus, their opposite sign being Leo. Parts of the body ruled by Aquarius energy are the ankles, the calves, and the circulatory system. Aquarians are known as they are known all over the world, as the visionaries, as the brand ambassadors of change, of revolution, of rebellion. I think for me though, I have to admit, actually, let me just put it out there. I have to admit that, there was some confusion surrounding the Aquarian symbol being the water bearer. And, Aquarian energy, is in its element is air. So I was a bit confused. But then when I started hanging around Aquarians and, even observing Aquarius energy in my own chart, that's when the confusion started to clear up. Because even when I'm talking about it right now, even when I'm meditating on the Aquarian energy, it all starts to make sense. These are the people, responsible for revolutionary and even sometimes radical change. They provide the consequential water, the proverbial nourishment to society and those around them, whether they realize it or not. Aquarians are the people these are the people that pour into humanity, in whichever capacity they choose to follow. They spread their knowledge and innovative ideas for change and hope that it is met with the least resistance, although they know that is, of course, wishful thinking. So when I say they pour into humanity in whichever capacity they choose, I just mean a lot of Aquarians are very creative. So they might pour out into humanity by sharing their knowledge on fashion, their knowledge on philosophy, their knowledge on strategic thinking, their knowledge on logical thinking, critical thinking. They might share their knowledge on art. They might share their knowledge in music, in writing, whether that be writing, poems, sonnets, soliloquies, whatever really. In whichever capacity they are able to express themselves or they are able to share their knowledge, they spread this knowledge and all of their ideas that they feel will impact or at least have society's interest at heart. And these are the people that are responsible for that, and every time they do share their ideas, I think they are met with a lot of resistance from people, because people, or rather society, hasn't yet made themselves aware of the universal mandate. They are not yet aware of the actual bigger picture. Aquarians know that their ideas, their thoughts, and even the execution plans are so radical that society thinks it's virtually impossible to implement until it's done, right? It's like being an air sign enables them to be sociable and relatable, and more often than not you'll find them exchanging ideas or even engaging in intellectually stimulating conversations with a whole lot of different people, because this is what they do. They share and exchange information, and they like to share and exchange information with people that stimulate them intellectually. You'll find a lot of the time that they don't really spend a lot of their time with just normal bani. They don't just spend their time with just anyone. They are definitely very cautious with their ideas and who they share them with and their thoughts on certain things. Of course, they'll definitely speak to other people, and they'll, even on their social pages, they might be quite social and have a lot of friends or followers or subscribers or whatever the case is. They might even, be very open with these ideas and concepts that they have. But I think they are very careful to just not say everything. I think they'll give you the surface, but they will not expose what's really down there. I think the same way Scorpio kind of doesn't trust everyone with their ideas and feelings, it's the same way Aquarians don't trust society with a lot of the things that they feel and what they think about society in general and where they feel society is actually going. So again, with the symbol water, is associated with healing in astrology, and of course we'd associate that with water signs like Pisces, Scorpio, and Cancer. And even in African spirituality, water is often used in cleansing rituals. So water just has the power to kind of ebb and flow from one corner to the next, fleeting in its nature, and it creates an impact. However, it's not attached to anything. And that's another reason why I think it's so fitting to Aquarian energy, because that's just the nature of Aquarius. They can adapt, they are fluid, but ultimately I think they still remain to themselves. And they do this just to avoid any attachments that can threaten their essence, their nature. Because you have to understand that whatever information they receive, and they receive it at the speed of light thanks to their ruling planet Uranus, they pick up on information through social interaction, through reading, through writing, and all of that information is essentially comprehended, and very quickly as well, and then it's poured out into society. And I think the air signs are just like this. The air signs collect data, they spread the information, and then that's just that. They're just like little messengers. So Gemini and Libra, they also might seem odd in their approach to life. However, they Geminis can, they adapt because they're versatile. And they're also mutual energy, which means that they're constantly going through changes, which means that, their ideas are constantly changing. They're constantly getting, also flashes of information, flashes of, knowledge, flashes of enlightenment. So their ideas change like, almost every second, if you will. And then you also get Libra, which has that cardinal energy to create and start things. And, they start things, of course, within society's rules and regulations, whereas Aquarius, with its fixed air energy, it simply just overrides that, and doesn't conform to the proverbial box. It's like, for them, it's like, which box are you even talking about? Like, it simply does not exist, right? And I think what is frustrating and is hard for society is just the fact that they try to class Aquarians and they just simply can't. And that's why you'll find that a lot of Aquarians get such a bad rep, because society cannot class them. Society cannot identify them as just one-dimensional beings, because they're not. They know that their energy cannot be matched. They know that a lot of the things that they say will be met with resistance. So when society is against them, it's no surprise to them. They already know. They Aquarians, or rather the energy of Aquarius is just, if I can describe it in any way, and even this is vague and does not do justice to Aquarian energy, but I will just say that they do not sing the song that society sings. It's just that simple. They, in fact, have a band. Actually, they are the band, and they are actually the lead drummer, and they are beating to their own tune. That's just them. That's just how they operate. Just as their ruling planet Uranus, they receive inspiration in flashes, and then once this information is received, it's comprehended so quickly, and then they have the obligation to share that knowledge. So essentially, Aquarians are different. They're unique. They are extremely open because they are aware of the possibilities that the rest of humanity have yet to accept or even open themselves up to. They are deeply in love with their sense of independence. They just love to roam as they please, and anything that stagnates their growth or ties them down just will not be entertained. In fact, it could be a job, it could be a relationship. It will definitely be blocked, dropped, and discarded. They are not about that life. And I think part of their independence actually stems from there being a really strong sense of self. Look, I think some people have a strong sense of self and a strong sense of awareness because of their family roots. They know where it is that they come from, and they know about their family tree. They know about their family's history and their patterns and behaviors. But even without that knowledge, I think Aquarians just have that natural ability to just be accepting of themselves. At some point in their life, they do get to a point where they just like, you know what, this is me. And quite frankly, I don't care who accepts me or not. This is me. This is what I think. And, you know, whoever's with me is with me. And, you know, it just is what it is. They have a strong sense of self. They have a strong sense of self-awareness. And, you know, the fact that their family and friends believe in them is enough for them to stand firm in the things that they believe in. And their family and their friends encouraging their ideals, in fact, just seals everything, because family and friends are so important to them. And I think also society shouldn't be fooled, though, because, I mean, they will conform to rules that they deem are necessary. But generally, I think, you know, I feel their sense of self also stems from the fact that they validate themselves and the opinions that they have. And they believe that the opinions of others are just not going to be considered, because most of the time people are perceiving experiences from their own perspective. So there's no reason why it should affect, you know, theirs. They are aware of that. And I also like the fact that their element is fixed, because that enables them to focus and really be assertive when it comes to the things that, you know, that they believe in and that they hold in high esteem. And I also think another thing to note is that as much as the energy of Uranus is liberating, I'd also say it's extremely isolating at times, because it can be extremely difficult knowing that you are different and that you just don't fit in. And, you know, especially if you realize that in your adulthood, because I think when you're still younger, it's kind of okay, because eventually you're going to get to a point where you're going to be accepted, right? You're going to get to a point where, you're not really going to be bothered or even care much. So, you know, it's not going to bother you that much. But I think it becomes more evident, or it bothers you more when it starts becoming a reality even in your adulthood life, because now you're like, okay, now I'm really alone. Now I'm really, you know, like, I don't want to say weirdo, but for lack of a better word, I'm just going to say that, you know, yeah, and you know, somebody with a much thinner skin, or somebody who has a lower self-esteem, it's very possible that that person could slip into a mild or even a severe depression, as they feel so misunderstood by their peers, and it's like they have difficulty forging and maintaining. I think the most important thing here is maintaining relationships with people, because people will be thinking, oh my gosh, they're so ridiculous, they're so weird, how could they even think that, who do they think they are to even be thinking that? So it's like the road that most Aquarians must travel is one that they have to carve and figure out themselves. And that is scary, and that is a lonely path, because the experiences that they will have are so vast and so offbeat and so, just like bizarre, to the point where even seeking counsel from other people just may seem like a task in vain. It's like a formidable task. The journey that they are called for, or that they are called to travel, is just not for society. It's just not for the mainstream. It's just, a path that they need to follow on their own terms, and they will be guided. But thank goodness that they are so open-minded. This is not as difficult. I think they get to a point, like I said earlier, where they just accept and they just keep it moving, because also remember, they're an air sign after all, so they're not going to really stay fixated on one feeling or one way of thinking. So they definitely going to keep it moving. And I think that's also why they referred a lot of the times as the black sheep, due to the fact that nobody actually understands the modus operandi of what it is that they need to fulfill here on this earth. And that simply is to gain as much knowledge, to gain as much enlightenment, and to pour it into the minds of other people, or at least to plant the seeds so that they can start thinking for themselves. More than anything, I think that Aquarians just want people to learn to think for themselves, and I think that's an important job to do. That's an important purpose to fulfill. But I think it's overwhelmingly challenging, especially if you don't have people around you who understand what it is that you're trying to do. But luckily for them, they're so sociable. They do find people around them that actually affirm their beliefs, affirm what they have to say, actually comprehend the things that they are trying to do. So that is definitely a blessing from above. Now, being the 11th zodiac is of course not shocking, considering that the number 11 it represents refinement, invention, innovation, higher ideals. It is the master number, and it's the master number of ascension. So before we dive deep into the waters of Pisces, we must first master self, right? So that we can be exposed to the other realms. And Pisces is about things that are unseen, not really part of this realm or even this reality. It's the last sign of the zodiac where the full cycle of life just comes to an end. It can be, literal sense, or even in the physical sense where we die off. And I call Pisces, the full circle, because it's the complete understanding of the entire bigger picture. As soon as you become comfortable with Pisces energy, you will know exactly what I mean. But I'm going to be talking about Pisces energy in the next coming weeks, because I think after this I'm going to start with Cancer. So I'm definitely going to be explaining that in more depth. However, just to explain just briefly, the universe being the bigger picture. So when I'm saying the bigger picture, I just mean the universe. It's the understanding that we come from infancy, which is represented by Aries, and then we travel all the way to Pisces, which is the age, of the elderly, as, Pisces rules the places that the elderly actually make use of, such as hospitals, homes for the elderly, or being patients, or even being assisted by caregivers, nurses, or even doctors. Number 11 being the master number, as I was saying, not to divert too far from the topic at hand, is once we have mastered self, or rather Aquarian energy, which is essentially an ego death, because it deals with collaboration, it deals with, communicating and connecting with other people. That is when now we can go into Pisces energy, which rules loss, which rules things dissipating, which rules the inevitable veil being lifted. So Aquarius, so we can actually say that Aquarius energy makes way for, or is the way towards, enlightenment as per the 12th house, because the 12th house is the last house. It may be, the darkest house of them all, as they say, but I think that people who have a lot of planets or have 12th house energy really do understand what is happening, even though they don't know how they understand that. And even as I'm meditating now on Aquarian energy, the saying, the light at the end of the tunnel, actually is making sense. Much of Aquarian frustrations really stem from being misunderstood. I think it's having opinions and views that society will just more than likely oppose or not acknowledge, which can be devastating, honestly, especially when you're young, as I had explained, because they don't understand why they're so different. They don't understand why nobody gets them. They don't understand why nobody wants to be friends with them. They don't understand why they are loners. So, even when I think about it now, again, can Aquarian energy actually be the apple of knowledge? Because it's like the knowledge of things that have not yet been acknowledged by society. And if we're being biblical, isn't that what Adam and Eve experienced? Because after eating the apple, after becoming aware of the bigger picture, they were now on the receiving end of God's wrath, which ultimately led to, their demise and being casted out. I don't know, you tell me. Some myths and facts about Aquarius energy. So number 1, Aquarians are intuitive. This is definitely facts. They are all about humanity. So a natural ability to pick up on vibes is definitely strong here. And Uranus also has an intuitive quality, albeit futuristic, but it's definitely present. Number 2, they are unemotional. Okay, facts, because they are able to detach easily because of their nature, which is air, and their symbol being the water bearer. They just literally drop the knowledge and then they move on. And even when you look at the person holding the water, sometimes the water is sort of like far from them, so they share the knowledge and then they keep it moving. But they don't, what I'm trying to say is, they don't attach themselves to the knowledge. They just speak the facts, spread the facts, and then they keep it moving. But I also think this is a myth, because at the end of the day, Aquarians are human and they do have feelings, even though they may not really be shown. Number 3, they are great listeners. This is definitely facts. Like I said, they deal with the rest of humanity, so they need to have great listening skills, of course. Otherwise, how would they be able to generate these amazing moves for a better society? Number 4, they only love their friends. This is definitely facts. I think every single relationship that they engaged in is 99.9% of the time based off of friendship. Unless, of course, it escalates to, something else that might be romantic, or that might be a business relationship, or whatever the case is there. Number 5, they are creative. This is definitely facts. They are extremely creative. Remember that they are innovative, and they come up with almost, dare I say, futuristic ways of expression, whether that be through fashion, through music, through writing, even through art and drawing, and any expression, really. Any way that they choose to express themselves, you can definitely see that creativity coming through. Number 6, Aquarians don't follow the rules. Okay, this is a myth. I mean, they still live in society, if we're speaking practically, so they still have to conform. However, I think if you were to ask them, they would probably much rather, be living life according to their moral compass and not really be bothered about what the rest of society is up to. Number 7, you can't take Aquarians seriously. Okay, this is definitely a myth, because they can make well-informed decisions because they are logical. They are of air nature. So air nature just basically means that everything takes place within, you get it, within the mental. Everything is about the mental. So they are definitely well informed to make decisions. They are quite logical and do take life quite seriously. And I think that's also why the universe has entrusted them to pour into humanity whatever ideals or whatever social solutions they feel that they have to society's issues, is definitely something that they're willing to pour out into humanity. Last but not least, number 8, personal relationships. personal relationships rather are a challenge. This is definitely facts. I think I've seen a lot of Aquarians, have issues with their personal relationships because a lot of the time their relationships are quite unorthodox, or they may be considered by people around them or even society as being, taboo. A lot of the times they might have relationships with 2 or more people. They might engage in polyamory or even polygamous setups, or even friends with benefits. And not that they can't be in committed relationships. I just think that it's in their nature to just engage in things that are unconventional, or that have an unconventional quality, just of some sort. Even when I think of Venus in Aquarius, I don't know actually who it was, but it was one of the Playgirls. And one of Hugh Hefner's Playgirls had Venus in Aquarius, and it's not really the norm for a 20-something-year-old to be dating a 70-something-year-old. Let's just be realistic about things. So they like things that are different, that are unconventional, that are unusual, that are taboo. So that's just in their nature. We can consider a 20-something-year-old dating somebody that is in their 70s quite taboo in the society that we are living in right now. Maybe back then it would have been something that would have been okay, but I think right now, in the society we're living in, we think a lot deeper about situations that are set up like that. I'm not saying that every Venus in Aquarius or people with Aquarian energy will do this. I'm just saying that it wouldn't be shocking, because naturally they are people that shock society. They are people that are the game changers. They will start a trend. They are the trendsetters. And as I mentioned prior, in my disclaimer, that not every single Aquarius will have these characteristics. So please be open-minded. As I always say, aspects do play a huge role in how the energies play out. Wherever you have Aquarius or Uranus energy is where this will play out. So all of the things that I mentioned above is where this will play out. So for me, I have Aquarian energy in my 10th house, and the 10th house is basically represents career, the house of your public image. It's basically who you are according to the public, what they perceive you are doing, what career you are what career you are in. It can also represent the father, etc., etc. So I know that when it comes to my career or whatever it is that I consider a job, I will have to do something that's quite unconventional, which is exactly what I'm doing right now on on YouTube. Also, reading birth charts could be considered a career. Like I'm a rookie astrologist, or I'm a rookie, natal birth chart reader. So that is definitely something that is taboo and not really considered, a career in mainstream media. So definitely something to think about. Definitely do ponder on that. If you are able to study your birth chart, definitely do check out where Aquarian energy is so that you can understand how that energy plays out. I just want to end off by saying, air signs, you are amazing and make us think out of the proverbial box and give us different perspectives. You also encourage the rest of the zodiac to live in the moment. I hope I was able to break Aquarian energy all the way down. My next video, as I mentioned earlier, will be about Cancer energy. We are finally stepping into the depths of the water, the depths of the... let me just leave that to myself. On that note, thank you so much for tuning in, your support. Thank you